Longtime 9 News viewers certainly remember Anastasiya Bolton. Our friend grew up in Moscow. Of course, she's now reporting on the U.S.-Mexico border crisis, working in Texas. But Anastasiya, kind enough to join us now live via Zoom with the perspective of someone who grew up in Russia. And Anastasiya, the world is reeling, wondering and criticizing Russia for what's going on. I want to get your take on what you're feeling. And also tell me about these protests in Russia. It's shocking to me to see people in St. Petersburg, people in Moscow taking to the streets. That's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah, the streets, as you mentioned, are dangerous just because you can get arrested, and a number of people have been arrested. Everyone on social media who's posting videos about this, I mean, you could see people being dragged off. I mean, they're being dragged off to jail. What happens to them? They could suffer bodily injury. They could be abused. I mean, this is protesting in Russia and speaking your mind in Russia could cost you your life. So they are being very brave, taking to the streets and saying that they're against war. In terms of personal feelings about this, part of me feels like I almost cannot speak on this because even though I'm from there, I'm not a Ukrainian, but I also feel like you don't have to be a Ukrainian to feel the pain of that nation, to feel the pain of my friends. I have Ukrainian friends, and it's just they have families there who are stuck, who are in danger, and feeling powerless and feeling like we are not doing enough, I cannot do enough to stop this, is, I feel like I can liken it to how maybe my grandparents felt at the beginning of World War II. And I have those feelings and I have those stories. And I remember, like, you're looking at what's unfolding in front of you and there's nothing you can do but flee. And I feel like we all can and should do more and care more. I know it's a world away, but they're people. So it's a difficult day, more so, of course, because I have so many friends who are suffering right now.
Yeah, when you mentioned that, Anastasiya, I so remember how wonderful it was to have you as part of our coverage of the Winter Olympics and taking us to Sochi and then showing us the people and telling us more about the culture and the country and just telling us a lot about Russia. And sometimes it's really hard to separate our feelings when we see Russia invading Ukraine. And I can't imagine how you are able to do any of that.
You can't separate it. You know, I feel maybe not partially responsible, but I feel embarrassed, right? I am a Russian. I am from a country of an aggressor. And it is infuriating and it's hard to comprehend. And it's going to be impossible, really, for a long time to make sure that the world sees that the Russian people are not doing this. But at the same time, the Russian people are doing this, right? The army is marching into a country they have no business being in. It is incredibly painful. This is not going to wash away. If it's over tomorrow, if it's over a month from now, it's over from a year from now. What I've been seeing on social media when this first started was the children, hopefully, who survive this are going to be thinking about this their lifetime. The fact is, war like this, any war, it sticks for generations. It is difficult for me to watch this because I remember my grandparents' stories. I remember my grandmother who was occupied her country, Estonia, which is in the Baltic bloc, and it's now a part of NATO. The Soviet Union took it, occupied it in 1940, right before World War II. I have family members who died in World War II. I remember the stories. And so when I look at this, it hurts me. It's as if I'm almost back there with them, watching this horror, unnecessary horror through their eyes. So this is forever. And it's so despicable and unnecessary.
You talk about Estonia, and I always think of, for me as a sports fan, the hockey players who had to play for Russia, who later got to play for their true native homelands of Latvia and Lithuania and these countries, and how proud they were to no longer wear the red jersey and to wear the jersey of their country, or what they felt was their homeland. So what happens? I have to try to understand this now, because when your grandparents were there, the messaging came strictly from the state. There was very little outside influence. But now it seems like even as far as people trying to restrict the messaging, in the world we live in now, the messaging comes from around the world. Are people in Russia tuned in to the world's view of this?
I think it depends, who you ask and what they're watching, right? It's really a non-answer, and I'm not trying not to answer your question. I can tell you, because I have family in Moscow at this moment, and I spoke with them today. I am really concerned about their ability to get back here, but they're watching, they're reading. There is an independent journalist channel online called RAIN. And if people want to follow what's happening in Russia and they can see if they can get translation or hear the language and they understand it, it is sort of the unbiased, one of the very few unbiased views. But for that, you have to know about its existence. You have to have internet. Most everyone else, it's a state-owned media, right? So how do you digest what it's providing you? And I was listening to RAIN this afternoon, and they were saying that the order from the Russian government is to use only information provided by the Russian government and the Ministry of Defense about this conflict, because they're not calling it a war. So obviously, based on the demonstrations on the streets, people are finding out about this and they're against it. But how many have the strength, and how many can afford to be arrested, and possibly passion,
In 2022, to think of this. Anastasia, we're so thankful for your insight, and we will always turn to you for this kind of discussion and thought, because we miss you a lot, and we're really grateful that you could be able to join us today. We know it's a tough day for you.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for having me on.
Yeah, and we're thinking of you and your family and friends. Thanks, Anastasia.